What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer and this is the officially licensed 2024 VFC HK M110A1 SDMR GBBR review. Now while I stick the usual disclosures on screen, you guys grab a drink and get yourselves comfortable because this is a special one. Alright guys, so in order to understand what the M110A1 SDMR is and its role within the military, we have to go back to the mid-2000s. It was during the adoption of the CSAS and the War on Terror that the military discovered two things. One, the original M110 from the early 2000s needed to be repaired, modified and updated, hence the M110K1 and the CSAS rifle. And two, squads that they were sending out during the War on Terror were basically getting bogged down by the enemy and engaged at distances past 400 meters. Anyone with an IQ and an interest with military firearms will know that the M4A1 is a capable rifle with the right ammunition, the right barrel length, the right optic, etc. None of those were in the hands of the squads at the time, and so they needed to do something about it. It was costing the US military millions on A-10 Warthogs, providing support, redirecting snipers or other squads and other artillery pieces to save the lives of these squad members when they were being engaged. So, during that time, they decided to experiment by issuing a squad member with the CSAS, or the M110K1, that would basically perform the basis of the designated marksman rifle role, and was an absolute win. Then in 2020, the US government decided it's got the funding, it wanted to basically work with several other companies as well, and so it went out and put a new contract, and HK won that contract as the M110A1 SDMR. Now, how did they do it? What happened, and how do we get to this awesome, beautiful piece of equipment on the table today? Well, let's do what we always do, start in the rear and work our way forward, and let's get into it. Okay, so before we start at the rear and work our way to the front, I do want to give a huge shout out to 1911 Syndicate. They have an absolute awesome YouTube channel, which basically last year they got to sit down with the real M110A1 and HK themselves to get the full information on why this was adopted and why it didn't go back to Knight's Armament and all the other changes they made to the platform of choice, which is the G28. So, huge shout out to them. If you want the full story that's over an hour long, head over to their channel. Otherwise, let's continue on. I'll give you as much of the bullet points as I can as we go through it, okay? So, let's start. Okay, at the rear we do have the E1 stock. The E1 stock comes from the 417A2 and the 417 Delta. It's a tried and true buttstock for the 417 platform and is just an absolute awesome. You see, what happened was HK dropped the G28 on the table and said, right, there you go, what do you think? They took one look at it and said, can we change a few things because it's a bit heavy, a bit bulky, a bit antiquated in some of its features. We want to update it. And so HK took the opportunity to cut weight by giving us the E1. You see, the G28 had the adjustable cheek riser, which adds to the cost of the actual stock itself, and so they could save money by going with this. This stock is awesome. I had my cheek on this with my beard and had no issues whatsoever with hairs being pulled or anything like that. You get a nice cheek weld on this with a decent LVPO. It's really good. Now, at the rear, you do get this chunky rubberized butt pad. Now, to remove it, we can just pull here on the lever, twist it up, and we can take that off. And as you can see here, we do have this very thick, very wide rubber butt pad that does an absolute astounding job at absorbing some of the recoil going in your shoulder, and as it's wide, it does provide a good purchase. So a really good choice. Now inside, you can see here, we do have a big cavernous internals. That cavernous internals is there basically for your oil and cleaning kit and the real steel, but in Airsoft, well, we use it for our tactical Haribo and keeping us sustained in the field. Now, this stock is actually mounted to a 417A2 buffer tube, which means it does have the over-the-beach capabilities. I'll show you that when we take this apart. One thing you will notice is this does have the enhanced castle nut, which was made famous with the 416A5 series of rifles. You see, they discovered that dropping this thing on the buffer tube and that, if you just dropped it, you could cause stress fractures within the tube at best, and at worst, you might crack it. So having this extra support stops it from fracturing here at the actual joining part to the upper receiver and keeps the gun in the field a lot longer. Right next to it, you can see here and here is an ambidextrous sling loops, which are steel, by the way. And they're going to be the actual sling points you use. You're not going to use these ambidextrous ones on here or the old, more traditional. You will be probably using the QD ones. Now, let's move on to the receiver. All right, so here at the top, we do have our enlarged, enhanced charging handle. It is a nice charging handle, so you can just grab this very large ear on the left side. It can be flipped over to the other side. If I flip here, you can see that it has the pinhole ready. If I can get this to focus, there you go. So you can flip this handle over. Now, this will charge no problem all the way to rear, and you can see, like I say, you can do that. But because of the size and the shape of it, whether you're left or right-handed, you really don't need to flip it. You can still grab it and actuate the charging handle a lot simpler that way. Now, of course, moving down, we do get the A2 417 grip, which, as you can see, they've removed the little finger spacer here, but they still retained the little hidden compartment in here for your batteries, for your lights and lasers, or spare tactical Haribo, whichever one suits you best. So that is quite nice, and it's easy to do, as you can see. Now, you do get your enlarged A2 trigger guard as well, which gives the soldier more chance to use this rifle in cold weather with the big winter gloves. And that leads us to our trigger. So if I drop the bolt, let's get rid of the mag. As you can see, this is airsoft, not real. YouTube, looking at you. But yeah, the trigger itself has a absolute amazing, how to say, feel to it. It's one of the best DMR triggers stock that I've tried so far. So you have a tiny creep of a millimeter there, you're at the wall, about another millimeter, and you should, there it goes, break with an extra millimeter of over travel. Now, reset is at the 2 millimeter, 1, 2. As you can hear, it's nice, audible, tactile. It's really good. And the brake is back there. It's just a nice trigger. It really is nice. Now, moving up from the awesome trigger to the fire selector, they basically gave us a fully ambi fire selector. And as you can see, you get safe and semi. Even if you flick it from safe to semi and go all the way around, it's still semi-auto only, due to the fact that this basically is semi-auto only. There's no third pin up here for it. Okay, just FYI. Now, again, moving on up to the upper receiver here, as this is a special receiver for the M110A1, you will see that they've removed the fencing around the bolt hold open / release, which is an enlarged big paddle. You see, as this is a DMR, you're not going to really need that in this role. That was just weight they could cut around. It may only be a few grams, but a few grams here and there adds up over time. Okay, and this is another ambidextrous. It is mirrored on the other side with, as you can see, my fingers just slightly moving it. But yeah, it's really good. Again, you get the ambidextrous magazine release right here. It works very well. And this humongous magwell. Now, before we get into the actual markings and that, let's talk about the magazines themselves. So these are basically the 417 V2 magazines. You can tell it's a V2 mag because of the way that you do have the dry fire option on there. You just put your fingernail in, slip it, and it'll stay down. Or you can click it and it goes back up and away you go. Now, in the real steel, these are 20 rounds. This gun is issued with 8 of the 20 rounders and 2 of the 10 rounders. These are proprietary in the real steel and they are in airsoft, and that is because basically if anyone deserves the proprietary label, HK does. They know how to do magazines. They are lightweight polymer in the real steel, very lightweight, able to hold, and they feed reliably, which is hard to do in the real steel world. Any true firearms designer will tell you the most difficult part to do on the gun is the magazines, to get them to feed and do everything right. Now, in this being the V2, you do get the tan base plate and you do get your fill valve there at the bottom. They will hold 20 rounds in here, and the rest of all this is one huge gas tank. And you're going to need that for the bolt carrier and the buffer and that's all reciprocating in here. But this itself will give you around about 120 rounds on a good day, or as you can see in the testing we did at Halo Mill, I'll put that on now. Ooh, that is cool down. At 0 degrees near enough, we were basically getting around about 60 rounds per mag before the gun started to chug. Once you see that, it's because it's cold. As you can see on the intro, it's around about 0 here at the range as well. So, of course, that sort of temperature, it's going to chug. All gas does suffer no matter what, but 3 mags to get to that, that's not bad really at the end of the day. They're very efficient for what they are, and I'm sure, like I say, you'll appreciate them when you get hold of yours. Now, let's get back to the markings. As you can see, you do get the HK here. You do get the M110A1 and its caliber in the real steel, the SDMR and your serial number there. Although the serial number for this gun is right there underneath, as you can see. It's actually there from VFC, so just to bear that one in mind. But for the cases of this, it is the SDMR 00030. You do get the DE. And right there, we can see you get the H&K proof mark, and you do get this one here. Now, this is the proof mark for the barrel, which we might as well get onto now. The barrel on the real steel is cannon grade steel that's been cold hammer forged and chrome lined. It's got a guaranteed warranty of 10 shots with a 0.4 inch grouping. Cold and hot is a 0.6 inch grouping, 10 shots. That's remarkable and way better than the original M110 and even the K1's accuracy. It's very accurate. And HK will replace the barrel for free for the US military if it doesn't meet that spec. But they test it beforehand, so they kind of know, and if it does wear out, they will still do that anyway. Now, for Airsoft, as you can see here, they've replicated the handguard for the SDMR properly. This is a full CNC aluminium handguard with steel mounting bolts and QD cups right there that basically was designed by Geisley. You see, part of the reason why HK won was they were willing to work with other companies within the US military to keep this actual build down in cost. And so Geisley modularized the handguard, made it a lot more modern, and obviously you still get the HK logo on there, but it is an absolute beautiful handguard. You do have M-LOK on the 3, 6, 9, and 10 to and 11 and 5 o'clock, if I remember rightly, on all angles basically. So that's awesome, and you do get this monolithic Picatinny rail going right the way across, which you can see we've got the front and rear sights on there, which I'll get into in a moment. And I don't know if I can show you, but you can just barely see. We will show it to you once we take this thing apart, but you do get your gas block in there fully recreated from the real steel. It's nice, and it's also where you adjust your hop. You will, though, however, need a very long Allen key to go to about here on your gun, so you'll need to go all the way down through the front and adjust it with your big long Allen key. And once you get your hop set, though, you're never going to need to do it again, and it will last. Now, let's show the front. As you can see, I've mounted a Harris-style bipod because the real steel comes with a Harris bipod, and the front here is a 417A2 flash hider. The real one comes with the Surefire flash hider for their OSS can. Okay. Now, of course, VFC don't supply you with that, but they will supply you with this one. If you want that look, you can purchase that. I believe Crusader sell the clone accurate one with all the markings. So head over to Action Airsoft for that, or WGC, because I believe they've got them now. And basically, you will find they're about 60 quid for that. So that's up to you. Now, let's flip this thing around, and we can show you the other side is fully mirrored. Now, obviously there are your big steel mounting bolts right there. You've got your M-LOK officially proof marked on there. And if I cover that up for now. Now, if you notice when we got this, there was a big black sticker there. You can probably just see some very residual residue left. Be careful when you take that off. It's stuck on there pretty bad, but it's nice that you got the proper markings, Heckler & Koch, GmbH, made in Germany, because basically the rifles, upper and lower receiver, the buttstock, everything on the rifle, to be honest with you, was made in Germany, barring the handguard, the bipod, the optic, and the sights. They would be assembled at the Virginia site, and then it would be issued out to the US military. Now, as you can see, you do have your ambidextrous bolt hold open here, which is fully functional. So if I put my finger on the other side, you can see it move up, and you can lock right there. Now, that's awesome. You do have your normal mag release. It's a big round button. It looks awesome. But one thing you'll notice here as well, they've deleted the forward assist. Now, VFC had to make an exclusive mold for this upper, basically because this actual part couldn't just be deleted off. You couldn't just do that. And so they made a new one for the M110A1. And that kind of adds to its exclusivity with a brand new lightning cut, how do you say, brass deflector there. Zero forward assist, you don't need it. And as you can see, we do have our front and rear sights. Now, I don't know if I can get that put on there for you, but you can just see underneath, it says round log under there. And your rear sight is nice. It has the dual aperture. These are basically the Troy sights. And what that means is, basically, Troy were the ones who supplied them. And if you're like me, mine came broken. I've had to glue mine back in place to repair it while waiting for WGC to issue me with a new one. And given it's been over a month now, yeah, I'm still waiting. But yeah, that's awesome. But I'm still waiting for that. Just be careful if you do order yours, tell them to remove the front and rear sights prior to shipping and put them separate in the box. That way they won't get snapped in shipping transport like mine did. But yeah, the Troy sights themselves are about $400 just for a set of sights on their own, a genuine real steel one. So everything adds up. You can see here with the bolt carrier, you do have the HK and the MR markings on there. So basically you have the full suite and you're not really missing anything at all, which is absolutely awesome. Now, at this point, let's take this all together. Let's put it in a bag. Let's take it to Halo Mill CQB. Now, again, the temperature, as I said there at Halo Mill, was about 0 degrees, and we basically put a human-sized target at the 30-meter mark and basically took it back to the beginning and shot 30 meters with 0.25 gram BBs, green gas. I don't expect this to be as accurate as you would think, but let's see anyway. Okay, so the shooter in the video is a good friend of mine. His name is Ben. He's one of the marshals at Halo Mill. He's way more qualified at long-range shots. And so after I tested it myself, I asked him to do it, and this is his. And I can tell you now, it's pretty much the same as what I got. You are looking with 2.5 gram BBs at about 10 inches, just a little over 10 inches from the one flyer. If I didn't take the flyer in to account, we can shorten that down a little bit, and you're looking at just under 6 inches, so say 5.5 there. Again, 5 there, 5 there. So it's up to you. Even if I take the flyer, it's going to expand it, which is not really bad for that. Now, to reaffirm that, I did do a CQB distance, which is around the 15 meters, and I'll basically show you those results now. Okay, let's push it back to 15 meters. Let's do a grouping size with 0.25 gram BBs and green gas. Okay, as you can see, I had my one shot I used to find out where the hold was because my scope is ranged at 30 meters. But once I knew the hold, you can see you have a nice pattern here if I put that there. And you can see it's basically 2.5, 2 3/4 inches, which again, it's not that bad. It's really good for what this gun is out the box with a stock barrel and bucking and 2 5-gram BBs, which remember, like I say, this is meant for the heavier weights, your 3.6s, 3.8s, 4.3s, etc. That's what this is really meant to be shooting out at long range. So to see that, it's absolutely awesome. So let's take a look at the internals. Okay, so as promised when we were going over the overview, there is your buffer tube with the over the beach capabilities, 1, 2, 3 holes there. You do have a steel castle nut, steel QD sling point, and steel buffer retaining pin, steel takedown pins front and rear, steel hammer, steel fire selector core, steel pins, steel trigger, steel mag release, steel bolt release slash bolt stop there, steel hammer, steel, basically everything is steel, okay? And as you can see, we do have the new Gen 2 firing pin right in there, which is a lot more concise for us and a lot better, more accurate, more reliable, and it's going to last you long term. What's great is that you do get a full steel fire selector in there. That's not cheap, and as you know with VFC, they do give you steel hammers, steel pins, etc., but it's rare to get a full steel trigger and fire selector and all the other stuff like your bolt, your mag release, should I say, and all that. Usually it's just your bolt, your hammer, and your firing pin. But again, it's really great, and that just adds to the total value of this actual build. Now, of course, inside that buffer tube, we've got the new Gen 2 buffer. And of course, it comes with its buffer spring, as you can, I don't know if you can pick that up, but inside here is a nice little shake weight, just like the normal ARs, and as you can see, mine's got a bit of wear going on there. That is normal. I had it with the 416, it just stops after a while, which this is now done. But you do have a nice steel core that moves backwards and forwards. There's a little very stiff spring in there as it bounces backwards to stop the bolt bounce. It's a really nice buffer, but it is heavy. And like I say, it is a big girl, okay? Now, if we just put that aside for a moment, let's move on to the bolt carrier. We'll do the weight and total in a minute. But here we have the new Gen 2 bolt carrier group, which is a nice, big, substantial mass. It's a zinc alloy main body with a steel, I would say, nozzle retention bit and steel front end. So all this part you see here going around is steel at the front, giving you steel and steel for your bolt start, bolt catch. And as you can see, this has the new Gen 2 nozzle in it. You get that compression. Now, why do we have this bit? Well, quite simply, as your bolt is being slammed home, it's a very big and heavy bolt, it's going to hit home, and that nozzle in here is going to create a seal with the hot chamber and the bucking. And of course, this coming home with such a massive force gets that extra 1.5 centimeters of travel, basically this here, space here, to go in and then hit a seal. And then this can move back anywhere up to 1 centimeter and not pull the actual nozzle out of the bucking, breaking the seal, keeping you actually aiming and shooting nice, clean, and concise every single time. It's really, really good. And of course, down the nozzle, there is an actual M-pass as well if you wish to use it. So you can when people ask me what's the FPS, out the box, it's 360 with 0.25 gram BBs, but you can adjust it to be whatever you want it for the environment you're shooting in and the BB weight of choice. There is just 1.5 millimeter Allen key that you need to put down there, and away you go. Okay. Now, how heavy is this thing? Well, let's find out, shall we? I've got my little digital scales here. Okie dokie. So we'll zero it. So the bolt carrier itself, on its own, stand it up there, is 277 grams. But the total reciprocating mass, because you do have to include the buffer, is moving forward and back and providing the recoil. If we add that as well, that brings it to 416.31. Taking that off, that means you've got a 139.2 gram buffer here, which is, like I say, nice aluminium. And you do have this for your bolt. Absolute amazing. I do like the way they've done the new Gen 2 bolt carrier. It really does work. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, as you can see here, we do have the Geisley handguard on there. Now, HK do provide you with a canted RMR mount, which I had one spare, so I fitted. You don't get that with the build, just FYI. But this is a really high quality part. Now, you do get a full steel flash hider, like say the A2 flash hider. That's fine. And that is held on by a 14mm CCW, and you can't just see it there, but the inner barrel goes to about where my finger is right here. Okay, this is 14mm CCW, and like I say, it goes to there. Now this is your hop adjustment. You just put your Allen key in the front, you turn it around, turn it clockwise to add hop, counterclockwise to remove hop, and basically all that does is move this bar across the bottom, which I would say pushes the leather or the lever arm inside the hop chamber. But as you can see, they did actually recreate the gas piston here, which is fully removable. I think that's really cool. I do like that. Now, I don't know if I can show you that on there, but you do get your hop chamber is the V2 hop chamber in there, which has the blue bucking, which again, their blue bucking on their 417 is designed for the heavier weight BBs, just FYI. But it generally works and works very, very well. Now, last thing of note, if I can get that to stand, is your charging handle. As you can see, it's substantially bigger than the standard AR, as well as the bolt carrier. And that basically means that this is a 417, so any 417 mil-spec charging handle will fit this and function perfectly fine. Okay, I'm not going to do the joke of getting a standard AR-15 bolt carrier because it is substantially smaller than the 417. It'd just be silly. And it's been done to death. Now, while I get this put back together, why don't you guys watch it shooting and then let's discuss. Okay, if you've gotten this far in the video and you like what you see but you're not subscribed, then please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell and like button. That way you stay notified whenever I upload a new video, and you really help this channel out hugely. Alright guys, going into this, I had in the back of my mind the price of this thing. Here in the UK, she's going for $849.99 at Land Warrior. And that's a very bitter pill to swallow. That's the same price as the PSG-1 when that launched, and that came with a hard case. This one just comes with the gun, the magazine, the iron sights, and that's it in a box. And my iron sights got broken, so please make sure that when you do order yours, tell them to bloody to remove the iron sights and put them separate in the box so you don't get them broken, okay? I'm still waiting for the replacement, like I say, and I don't know how long WGC are going to take to do that. I'll let you know in an update in the comments section below, as and when I receive my updated sight. Now, when it comes down to this thing, she is an absolute beautiful piece of kit. But is it worth that price? And to be honest with you, yes. Let's just take the parts alone. The exclusive Geisley handguard, the exclusive M110A1 upper, and A2 lower, all in the FDE, along with the buffer tube, the enhanced castle nut, and all that, the new stock color, the sights themselves, as I've already said. You can't really get Troy sights that are perfectly accurate in Airsoft outside of the VFC, I would say, build here that's on the table, or going buying the real steel ones, and they're a couple of $100. So, yeah. This is an absolute beautiful build. She's very efficient. You've got all the full Gen 2 internals in there to make her more reliable and more efficient than any other DMR on the market. So, yeah. And like I say, whenever I've taken this out to shoot, she turns heads. Everyone looks. And it's like, oh my God, that looks amazing, you know? And I agree. It does look amazing. And I would love to know what you guys think. So yeah, of course, it sucks that I was only able to put 2.5s through it, but because basically I had no access to heavier weight BBs, and to be honest with you, at Halo Mill CQB, the maximum BB weight is 2.8s. They had none in stock at the time. It was all 2.5s or 2s, so it was a case of do the best as we can. And to be honest, 30 meters, 2.5s, hitting that sort of grouping, you're still hitting a human-sized target at 30 meters. You're still going to, drop them. That's still great. And I'm very sure that with 3.8s, 4.3s, this thing's going to punch out to you 50, 70 meters easily enough, no problem, all day long. And with the right, I would say, adjustment of the MPAS, you're going to get it to the FPS that your sight will allow with your BB weight. This thing can just dominate the field as a sniper. It's really going to be your best option at the moment. And like I say, it is a limited gun. At this moment in time, I would like to put, I would say, the hesitance on it being on the market for about 12 months, and then VFC doing what they did with the PSG-1 and with the 417A2, just take it off sale, and you'll have to wait for something else. And, that sucks on one side, but it's a case of it adds to the value of what you've got in your hand. Now, as always, I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm really happy. All the parts were made with high quality materials. And like I say, she is pretty accurate out the box. And I'm sure with a barrel swap and a booking swap of your choice, this thing could be even more deadly than she is out the box. So I would like to know what you guys think in the comments down below. So, as always, I've been Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer. You guys have been awesome. I'll see you in the next one.